This rare video footage that went viral in July 2024 shows members of the Mashco Piro tribe emerging on a sandy bank by a river. They are believed to be the world's biggest uncontacted tribe with more than 750 people living in the Peruvian Amazon. And they are now seen emerging just miles away from where companies are logging in the rainforest. Survival International, the indigenous rights group that released the video, warns that illegal activities by logging companies are posing an existential threat to this vulnerable tribe. Watch till the end to find out how you can help these people preserve their homeland. Several logging companies, including Canales Tawamanu, hold timber concessions, or permits granted by the government authorities in the territory inhabited by the Mashco Piro tribe. It has been reported that the company bulldozed more than 200 kilometers of logging tracks since 2016 in the area. Ironically, the company's timber is certified as ethical by the Forest Stewardship Council, or FSC. In FSC's response to the issue, it acknowledges having a critical problem but did not agree to withdraw the company's certification. Instead, it only commits to carrying out an exhaustive analysis of the case. The same statement mentions that the case has already been subject to 2 previous evaluations in 2022 and 2023 without finding sufficient reasons to suspend the company's certification. This also implies that another exhaustive analysis is unlikely to lead to significant changes in the position of the organization. Specifically, FSC justify the continuation of certification by reason 1, the logging permit issued by the authorities is legally valid, and reason 2, that the company has protocols to prevent encounters with members of the Mashco Piro. Indigenous organizations argue that these are simply not sufficient to guarantee that the wood products comply with respect for the rights of Mashco Piro. In fact, what we heard about Mashco Piro isn't an isolated story. There are hundreds of uncontacted tribes around the world, among which over 90% are in the South America continent deep in the Amazon rainforest, others scattered in Africa and Asia, including Indonesia and Papua New Guinea. They have lived in their territories for generations for thousands of years. Being shielded by geography, they are both difficult to be reached by outsiders and difficult for them to leave their areas. These uncontacted tribes preserve their own way of life and have always thrived when being left alone. Think of the tribes in the Avatar movie. Their isolation is partly a deliberate choice to safeguard their culture and identity. Unfortunately, unlike in the movies, uncontacted tribes in the real world are particularly vulnerable. In addition to business activities by logging, mining, and cattle ranching companies, contact by outsiders could be deadly and catastrophic for them. Having lived for thousands of years separated from the rest of the world, uncontacted peoples have not developed immunities to even common diseases like flu and measles, which could easily kill them. This has happened on a large scale since Europeans first arrived in the Americas and is still a high risk today. Recognizing the importance of protecting indigenous peoples, the United Nations, UN, Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, adopted in 2007, recognizes the rights of indigenous peoples to self-determination, cultural preservation, and land ownership. It also solidifies the principle of free, prior, and informed consent, FPIC, which means indigenous peoples have the right to say yes or no to projects affecting their land and resources. It ensures they receive all the information they need and have the freedom to decide without pressure. Some countries, including Peru, Colombia, and the Philippines, have laws recognizing indigenous peoples' rights and requirements on FPIC. But unfortunately, laws protecting indigenous rights are often poorly enforced, leading to continued illegal activities like logging, mining, and land grabbing in their territories. Back to the story about the Mashco Piro people. The video footage has now put the FSC under enormous pressure to justify its continuing certification, particularly since it has known for many years of the Mashco Piro's presence, and indigenous organizations had requested it take action 4 years ago. You can also help protect indigenous peoples by supporting organizations working for their rights. Survival International has put together a petition to ask FSC to cancel its certification of the logging company, which is in the description below. Indigenous peoples' rights do not only concern logging companies. If you work in the fields of mining and extraction, oil and gas, agriculture, infrastructure, or renewable energy, depending on the location where they operate, these companies have high risks of impacting the lives of indigenous peoples too. It is essential for them to consider their rights in every decision-making process, and to make sure that the principles of free, prior, and informed consent are being followed. So what do you think? What more can be done to make sure that companies do not cause harm to the territories of uncontacted tribes and indigenous peoples? Let us know in the comment below, give us a thumbs up, and subscribe to channel CSR for more videos about responsible business practices in future.